The moment he said she needed her real family, something inside me went quiet in a way that felt permanent. I remember standing in the kitchen with the kettle screaming, watching his mouth move as if he were explaining something reasonable. Holidays with his ex. Our home suddenly reduced to a waiting room. I nodded, because arguing would have meant admitting how small I'd already become inside this marriage. Instead, I turned off the stove and told him it made sense. The relief on his face hurt more than the words. That night, I reopened an email I'd archived for 3 years, the transfer offer. A different city. A promotion. A life I kept postponing for us. My finger hovered over the acceptance button while laughter drifted from the living room where he and his daughter were planning their trip. Not once did he ask what I would do while they were gone. That absence of curiosity felt like an answer. I clicked accept. The confirmation arrived instantly, cold and official. My chest tightened, not with fear, but with a strange clarity. Over the next 2 days, small details sharpened, the way my suitcase fit too easily under the bed, how my clothes folded without hesitation, how the apartment echoed when I imagined it empty. He barely noticed my sorting, assuming I was organizing. Every object I touched felt like evidence that I had been preparing to leave long before I admitted it to myself. When he finally mentioned their flight time, I smiled and wished them a good trip. Inside, I was already counting down to a different departure, one he didn't know existed. The morning they left, the apartment felt staged, like a set after the actors walk off. I stood in the doorway after their goodbye, listening to the elevator hum them away. No tears came. Instead, I felt an unsettling calm, the kind that arrives before a storm you can't yet see. I walked through each room slowly, memorizing the angles of light, the faint dent in the couch where we used to sit too close, pretending closeness meant connection. My phone buzzed with onboarding emails from my new office, welcome messages, schedules, expectations. They read like invitations to a version of me I barely recognized but desperately wanted to meet. Then another message appeared, this one from an unknown number. Are you really leaving? My stomach dropped. I stared at the words, certain they weren't meant for me, yet they pulsed with accusation. I typed nothing back. Minutes later, a photo arrived, our building lobby, time-stamped from that morning. Someone had been watching. I told myself it was coincidence, paranoia stitched from stress, but the silence afterward felt deliberate. I packed faster, every zipper sounding too loud. By evening, the apartment looked like I'd never lived there. I sat on the floor with my suitcase upright beside me, phone face down, waiting for it to light up again. It didn't. The quiet stretched until it felt alive. For the first time since accepting the transfer, doubt crept in, not about leaving him, but about what exactly I was stepping into. And why it felt like someone already knew. The unknown messages stopped the moment I decided to ignore them, which somehow felt worse than if they'd continued. Silence has a way of sounding intentional. I spent my last night in the apartment sitting against the packed boxes, replaying every moment that led here, trying to spot the first crack I'd refused to see. My phone lit up just after midnight, his name. I let it ring once, twice, 5 times before answering. He sounded breathless, like he'd been running. He asked where I was, not what I was doing. That detail mattered. I told him I was home, which was technically still true. He hesitated, then said his daughter had asked why I wasn't coming to the airport. I pictured her confused face and felt a sting of guilt, followed by clarity. I had never been invited. He filled the silence with nervous chatter about their flight delay, about how strange the trip suddenly felt. Then he said it feels like you're slipping away. My grip tightened around the phone. He wasn't wrong, he was just late. After we hung up, another message appeared from the unknown number, he knows now. My pulse thudded in my ears. Knows what? The transfer? The leaving? Or something else entirely? I checked the locks, the windows, the hallway. Everything was still. Yet the apartment felt observed, like my decision had triggered a ripple I didn't understand. I slept in fragments, dreams full of doors I couldn't close. When morning came, sunlight poured in like a verdict. Today, I would leave. And whatever had been circling my life would either follow, or reveal itself. The airport smelled like burnt coffee and endings. I moved through security on autopilot, my phone heavy in my pocket, waiting for the next vibration. It came as I reached the gate, him again. This time, I answered immediately. He was crying, words tangling over each other. Their trip had unraveled before it began. His ex had assumed I was coming too. When she learned I wasn't, questions surfaced about our marriage, about promises he'd made to everyone except me. In trying to explain, he'd exposed how little space he'd actually left for me in his plans. I thought you understood, he kept saying. I did understand. That was the problem. Then he admitted he'd seen the transfer confirmation on our shared email the night before. Panic had set in. He called it impulsive. I called it overdue. As he spoke, another message flashed from the unknown number. You chose yourself. Good. No photo this time. No threat. Just closure. I realized the messages weren't surveillance. They were echoes of my own fear, scheduled reminders I'd set months ago during a sleepless night, then forgotten. Each one was timed to force a decision I kept postponing. I laughed softly, surprising both of us. He asked what was funny. I told him I wasn't disappearing, I was finally arriving somewhere I belonged. The boarding call interrupted us. He begged me to wait, to talk when he returned. I promised we would, but not as the woman who stayed silent in the kitchen. As the plane lifted, the city shrank beneath me, along with the version of my life built on accommodation. For the first time in years, the future didn't feel like something happening to me. It felt like something I was stepping into on purpose.